Welcome back to the Retire as You Desire TV show. So pumped to have you here today because we have a special guest, Dan Hoffman. Dan and I have known each other since we were kids, actually. So the funny story about today's show, Dan's become an incredible entrepreneur, and I wanted to share his story with you today. So he is my brother's age, a couple years younger than me. But when we moved into our neighborhood, he actually lived right down the block, unbeknownst to me. So we're basically neighbors. We've known each other since we were kids. They used to play baseball together with him and my brother. And I just cannot wait to share your incredible story today. So Dan, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is such an honor. So tell us, how in the world did you become an entrepreneur?
Well, I think it started from just early childhood days, really. When I was growing up, I always thought I wanted to be in business and some sort of entrepreneur, but of course didn't know what it was, right? But always had a knack for figuring out how to make money and who's making money and how people are making money, and caught just a lot of attention in that. And as I was growing up and got older and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in the world, it just became natural to me that I wanted to create business and jobs and opportunity for not only myself and my family, but for the people around me. So it's been a great journey, a challenging journey, but really enjoying it.
I love it, love it. I think when you actually take time and think about your childhood, certain things stand out, whether it's hard times or financial issues. Like in my household growing up, we didn't know if we were going to have a roof over our head multiple times. And I think I was 8 when I realized I know I never wanted to live like this. I was 8.
Mhm.
I have these vivid memories. And you said your childhood was super prevalent of becoming an entrepreneur. If you understand how money works or there's a value, I think when you teach your kids value and things, that's what business is all about. You're creating value. So what were some of your childhood experiences that made you think actually, okay, I see value here, or I see there's an opportunity here? How have you incorporated that into your business now?
Yeah, sure. No, I think, growing up, you would see maybe a neighbor, driving a nicer car, or going on a nicer vacation, or hearing some stories. And, not that we didn't get to do nice things growing up, but there were certainly a lot of people that were, I would hate to use the word outdoing, but doing more and having more life experiences, and understood that it takes money and finances to be able to do certain things like that. And I think that's kind of what drove me is, well, if they're doing it, how are they doing it? And I should be able to do the same at some point. And that's a lot where it stemmed from.
So you became very curious at a young
Very
age.
curious, very curious. And if somebody else can do it, so can I. And yeah, always the brain's always turning in that direction. So
Do you think anyone could become an entrepreneur or anyone can start their own business? It doesn't have to be $1 billion business, right? But do you think anyone can do it?
I do. I think it's mindset. I think it's mindset. And I think it's the people who you surround yourself with, right?
Yes, a million percent. on
Yeah,
that one.
it's really who you surround yourself with. I use the analogy a lot of when you have kids, Bill, and you're teaching your kids to walk at a young age, right? And you're in your family room, and everyone's around your kid, and walk. You can do this. You can do it. And if they fall down, you're right there to help them back up. Well, it's a little bit different when you start a business. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of side noise that's saying, "Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. That's pretty dangerous. You might not want to go down that path." And that gets into your head a little bit. And if you're surrounding yourself with those same people that are willing to pick you up, say, "No, go for it. I'm here for you." And, with, my wife's support, my family's support, and them telling me, "No, you can do this. And I've got your back, and I've got full confidence in you." It helps a long way. So truly who you surround yourself with is a big part of it.
I think that might be the biggest part of it. How many friends have you had to fire over the years and get rid of and take them out of your life because they don't support you? And for family members, have you had to do that with any of your family members?
Friends, yes. And I wouldn't say fire them as employees, but almost as maybe I should remove myself from this circle.
Totally.
When you're growing up, you've got a decision to make. And I wouldn't say that I'm at the top, but you've probably heard the term that it is a little bit lonely at the top. There's not a lot of people out there willing to put in the hours and the work and the dedication and the early mornings and the late nights and the weekends
Yeah.
to chase that goal and that dream, and to make sure you're successful and that you succeed. And so, yeah, it does require some decisions to be made, who you're going to surround yourself with. So,
Oh, yeah. I've told my wife this so many times when we get invitations to go to certain events or certain things. And I always say, is it worth it? Like, is it going to help us with business? Is it going to give us more free time? Is it going to give us more flexibility in our life? And is it aligned with the people who we want to surround ourselves with? And forevermore, it's changing. It's changing from that scenario. And the people who say, oh, it must be nice, or I wish I had what you had, or I wish, those are envious traits. Those are people to just be very aware of. And the hard part that I found is helping family members. That's like the main thing is we love our family. We're super integrated. We help our family a ton. But the thing is, at some point you have to say no. Like yesterday I was speaking with like Melissa and Doug, the toy brand.
of course.
I was talking to Melissa from the couple. It's incredible. And we were just having a great conversation, talking about spirituality and just life and energy. And she was telling me that they get hundreds of requests every single week on, can you help our charity? Can you help this organization? And your heart pulls at that. It says, you know what? Yeah, I want to help these kids, or I want to help this organization. But even though they just sold their company for over $1 billion, still, like, you can exhaust all of your assets. How do you keep your energy in check? How do you keep a balance? And I don't like to use that word balance a ton, but how do you prioritize your family, your work life, your customers, your clients, your employees? What's your experience like doing that?
Yeah, a lot of is planning, and it's certainly a struggle to be able to balance work and raising 3 kids and a growing family, and there's certainly a lot to it, and I think balance is a big key. So I start in the morning and spend a little time with the kids before the day gets started, but then it's full business from there. And then as the evening comes around, it's let's shut it down and spend some time with the family, and once they're in bed, it kind of picks back up a little bit just to kind of finish off the day. And I feel like if I can finish off the night with a clean slate, I can make sure I can get some good rest that night and start fresh the next day. So a lot of it is just definitely thought out and planned. I know I'm still in my early stages of business and entrepreneurship, but when I first started, it was definitely a struggle of, hey, I've got to shut it off or cut it down. I also have a responsibility as a father and a husband, and so that all has to come into play too.
It totally comes into play.
Yeah.
Are your kids the biggest motivator to be successful?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you want to teach them about not necessarily entrepreneurship, but freedoms? Like, what do you want to teach your kids, and have you started to teach your kids? Because you have a different age range.
Yes, very big age range between our children, and my oldest is starting high school and has an appetite to play high school sports, and
like we did.
Yeah, exactly. And she's very competitive in school as well. But really, like you said earlier in the talk, is just value. Why we can and can't do things, and the decisions we make, whether it's when we're out shopping or at the grocery store. There's a lot of wants, right? And not always healthy just to give the wants, right? It's what are you going to do to earn it, and just to create that value around everything. And that's really about what it's about.
Yeah. When you do the work, when you put the time in, and if you have extra income or extra assets to pay for things, and saying no is one of the most important things you could do with your kids. Teach them expectations. One of my friends, Scott Donnell, he talks about this from an expectation standpoint. Like, we expect you to keep your room clean. We expect you to put your dishes away. And that's when you reward them. That's when you give them the quarter or the dollar or whatever that monetary system is. But you teach them you're creating value for the household because you're helping out. Hey, you see something out of place, or we need to do the dishes or whatever that may be. And if they do that, that's when you reward them. That's been prevalent in my mind. We have a 2 and a 5-year-old. So how do you start teaching them that value? And then I also, like Deepak Chopra, one of my friends, is going to be the first book release for his company coming up. And he said that I taught my kids at a young age to meditate and to not worry about money, don't worry about grades, just use your gift. Like you have a gift, I have a gift, like everyone here at the studio has a gift. If you focus in on that gift and kind of take the pressure off your kids, I think we could change the world in that way. You don't have to focus about money. You don't have to focus on getting the A plus and everything. You take the pressure off.
Sure.
How have you done that with your soon to be high schooler and then the other kids? Like, what's your experience been like? 'Cause I want to learn from you.
Yeah, no, of course. To stay focused and have goals, write them down, and not only just say this is what I want to do, but have a roadmap and an action plan how you're going to achieve those goals. And the goals should be obtainable goals. You should be able to hit your goals, because if not, I just kind of feel like they're dreams, right?
Right.
But have goals, have them written down, a roadmap on how you're going to get there and how you're going to do it, and it's awfully rewarding when you can celebrate those goals and realize that
Ooh.
you've achieved what you wanted to achieve.
So you're teaching your kids to celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
How do they celebrate?
As a family.
Yeah.
As a family. We all talk about our goals, and we know about what we want to do and where we want to go and how we want to get there, and it's talked about, and we rally around each other and we get it done.
It's a great support system.
It is.
Love it. Stay tuned for the next segment. We're going to really dive deep into Dan's entrepreneurial company. Now, what they're doing is incredible. It's super incredible. You're definitely going to want to stay tuned for the next segments. Talk more about family, life, love, the whole 9 yards, and talk about how money can be incorporated in all these aspects of life. So thank you for watching the Retire as You Desire show. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to the Retire as You Desire show. We have Dan Hoffman here, an entrepreneur, an incredible family man, and we're telling his story about his success. We've all had issues growing our companies. We're going to get into those failures later on in a different segment. But Dan, please tell us how you started your company and what was your motivation to get into this space?
Sure. Yeah, I started my company back in 2021, just a couple short years ago. I've been in the packaging business for several years, since 2008, and it's been a great business to be in. I've learned a lot. I've worked for other families, up to Fortune 500 companies, and had learned a tremendous amount in those 16 to 18 years of packaging sales and distribution sales, and it's primarily the business we're in now.
Yeah, that's starting in 2008 of all years
Sure.
in this business,
Sure.
of any business. That's when I started my career in the financial services world. It's like,
Sure.
it was daunting. The whole world was shut down from a financial perspective. Like interest rates were going crazy. The stock market was going crazy. What happened? Like you're so young at that time too.
Sure. I mean, it was really the mindset of, I've got nothing to lose. I've got more to gain than to lose. And I feel like we're still in that mindset here in 2024, as there's much more business out there that we can gain than we can lose. But I remember in 2008, there was a lot of guys coming into the office, and their business was down, and their sales were down, and their income was down, and you could see it in their eyes. And it was, I've got nothing to lose here, and if you're into horse racing at all, you'll hear some of the trainers talk about horse blinders. And it's an analogy I use all the time, is they have those horse blinders on for a reason, to stay focused and look straight ahead and keep your head down and go. So
What did you do differently in 2008 to set yourself apart from the guys and the girls who are struggling in the business? Like, what did you do to get through those hard times?
Sure. I've always listened to my customers, ask questions, get to know them, understand their business, and tailor a program and a business around what they need. And if you just listen and ask the right questions, they'll tell you exactly what they want to buy and how they want to buy it and how they want to do business. And if you can understand that and get your customer to talk and express what they need, you can be a big help to them and grow your business.
Well, you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Just listen, ask questions. Don't talk the whole time. It's a really simple business model, right? Like just asking someone, what's most important to you? Like, what's the dream outcome for you? Like, what do you want to see happen? That leads you to success. We do that all the time with our clients. Like, what's most important to you financially? And I just shut up.
Hmm.
Let them talk. I've had people talk for over an hour before, and the husband and wife are going back and forth, and I'm just taking notes and like taking mental notes. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine, Bill Bartlett, when I first got into the business, was a mentor of mine, and he would call it the 70-30 rule. If you can get your prospective client or customer talking 70% of the time, you're going to get yourself a sale.
How important were those early sales for you? I mean, you're a young kid, you're stepping out into the business world. How important were those first sales?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I was becoming a father at the same time in 2009, and I was working a commission-based job, and it was eat what you kill. And so you're out doing a lot of hunting and trying to make it happen. But the reason I felt good about it is there was no one else in control but myself. And, if you wanted it, and go out there and get it and earn an income, and platforms available, so go do it.
Yeah, you can go do it. And that goes back to the question earlier. Can anyone become an entrepreneur? I think if you want anything in life, you can go for it. You could totally get it.
Mhm.
So how do you actually allow things to come into your life? Do you believe in manifestation?
Yeah, I do.
So from a business standpoint, what do you guys actually do? I mean, packaging could be boxes, it could be food. I mean, I've talked to people all over the globe over the past couple of years. I've had some great introductions from people who do different kinds of packaging.
Sure.
What does your company do? And tell us more about, your company culture.
Yeah, so Packaging Solutions is a packaging distributor and design company. And so we're working with food processors, industrial manufacturers, e-commerce and fulfillment companies, really anybody that's got a shipping dock that is distributing a product, making a product, and shipping it out. And so we will come up with a design to safely ship your product, and then also supply you with the materials needed.
So when UPS or FedEx are throwing your boxes around, I see it in the trucks, like, oh, boop, boop. You guys try and protect those packages
Yes,
and
of
the
course.
contents inside. How do you do that? Because, I mean, in Chicago, it's been 90 degrees here over the summertime. And then in the winter, obviously, it could be -20.
Sure.
How do you do temperature control items?
Sure. Yeah. No, we have a lot of testing capabilities, testing chambers, cold. We do a lot of thermal packaging. We do really well with the meal kit companies, and so we're shipping meals for next day or 2-day delivery all over the country.
Wow.
So you're talking, down in Phoenix in the summer, all the way up to Chicago in the winter.
Yep.
And so it's two completely different animals, but yeah, a lot of testing and a lot of great technology with our manufacturing partners.
How have you created those partnerships? Because when you're dealing with anyone who has a loading dock, that's so diverse.
Yes, very much so.
How have you really figured out your niche, and how have you been able to just slow down and figure out these are the people who I want to serve? These are the type of companies that we resonate with, we have great energy with. How have you figured that out in such a short amount of time?
Really going back to kind of what I said before is going in and asking the questions. And, a lot of these bigger companies, and we do have a lot of competition, and most of the competition are larger companies than what Packaging Solutions is. But a lot of times our sales approach is, tell me what you need from us. What's not working in your current day-to-day environment. We're not a cookie cutter company. We're not going to tell you how we do business. We want to understand your business. And like I said before, we can put a program together to tailor all your needs.
Yeah. That customization is key.
Totally.
That's what people want. They want to know they're being taken care of, whether it's their business, their money, their life, their insurance stuff, everything. That's a key. What do you do to get great people inside of your organization? Because I'm sure there are people who are watching the show right now and they want to start a company. They want to take that leap of faith. And there's all sorts of excuses like, how do I hire? How do I get capital? How do I do this? How do I do that? How have you been able to weather those storms?
Yeah, sure. Great question. I mean, hiring is definitely a challenge. It's tough. And when you're starting a business and a small business and you're wearing many hats, at some point you need to make those hires. And you're going to go through a couple of interviews to maybe hire someone in admin or office support. And really it's a leap of faith in some regard. But what you're looking for is people that are in the interview process that are going to be asking a lot of questions, that seem interested in the business and really wanting to understand, not just what my pay is and what my hours are, but what's my day-to-day going to be like. And those were my triggers when people were starting to ask, no, I really want to understand what I'm going to be doing throughout the day. And really, you can almost see them put themselves in there in that role for the day and thinking, okay, is this something I want to do? Is this something I could see myself doing? And you could almost feel it right then and there, like, well, this person's really interested. And sometimes that's all it takes, is someone that's interested and willing to learn, and somebody that's just looking for an opportunity themselves.
Yeah.
And if you're the one giving the interview, you can ask some of those right questions and really peel back the layers and peel back the onion and find out who these people are and make a decision on whether or not you think they're a fit.
Do you like doing the interviews?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I don't mind it. I like to meet new people and see what motivates other people and what drives other people. And as you know, there's people that just come from all different sorts of walks of life and different motivating factors and driving factors. It's interesting for me to see that.
It sounds like you have an innate trait and totally a unique ability to see what people want from your customers, from your employees. Just being able to differentiate the different wants and needs for people. Is that part of your unique ability and special talents? Because we all have special talents and abilities, but is that one of yours?
I don't know.
Sounds like it is.
I'm not sure. I've never thought too much into it, but maybe it is.
It might be. It might be. What are some of your other really special and unique talents that separate your company or just you from other entrepreneurs and other people in the packaging space?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as far as me personally goes, a question that I get asked just by some of the newer salespeople that we've kind of taken under our wing in the last 2 years and teaching them the business and in the industry. And some say, Dan, you're awfully motivated. How do you stay motivated? Week in and week out. And really, what I tell them, it's really not motivation. It's out of a 5-day work week, maybe 2 days a week, I'm motivated. The other 3 is discipline. Yeah. And it's I have to do this today, and here's what's on the agenda. And sometimes I'm feeling 100%, and that day I can go give 110%. Some days I'm feeling 70%, but I'm going to give all 100% of that 70% that I have that day. Yeah. And it comes across as motivation, but at the end of the day, really, it's discipline.
Yeah, willpower doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's a great book to read, by the way. Willpower is it's flighty. It'll be there 1 week. It's like going to the gym or working out or eating well. The willpower is great. But the consistency is true for everything in life, whether it's your money, it's your health, it's your business, or even if you're working at a company. Are you being consistent with your job? How has your company grown because of your consistency?
Yeah, no, we've grown tremendously over the last few years. We were just named on Inc. Magazine's 5,000.
Hey,
we're going to be one of the top growing companies
Look at that.
across America. Thank you.
Legendary.
Yes, very excited for it. It's going to be announced here in August on how we place, but we were notified that we are one of the fastest growing companies in the country. Thank you very much.
But how do you empower your team to allow this to happen?
When you start to grow, you can't wear all the hats, and you can't drive the truck and pay the bills and do the invoicing and do it all.
All right. We're going to wrap up this segment. I want to talk more about the actual business aspects and how things are working. So stay tuned to the Retire As You Desire show. At the next segment, we're going to go to some great information about Dan's company. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. We have Dan Hoffman here. He is the owner of one of the fastest growing companies in the United States of America, the Inc. 5000. They just won an award. It's an incredible thing. You're going to be able to learn from someone who started a company in 2021. It's 2024 now. And they're in the top 5,000 fastest growing companies in the nation. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What's been your drive to get to this point? Was that always on your radar? Was that one of your goals, to get to the top 5,000 fastest growing companies in the nation?
Sure. Yeah, it was. We see the awards and the plaques and all of that, and all the accolades are great. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, it's about revenue and profits and jobs and employment and satisfying others as well. But no, we certainly had a goal to become on the Inc. 5000 list. Yeah, we achieved that this year, and it feels great.
I bet. What did you celebrate, or have you celebrated yet?
No, we haven't quite celebrated yet, but we sure will. We usually do a company get together towards the end of the year and reflect back on the year itself, and that'll be certainly a time that we celebrate and get to take all that in.
I love it. What do you need to do to qualify to become something as grandiose as this?
Sure. The qualifications are in your first year, $100,000 in revenue and sales.
Nice.
By year 3, you need to be over $2 million in revenue and sales. And that's how you qualify. And then there's an application process for there. And then it's all in the hands of the wonderful people at Inc. Magazine in New York.
God, that's amazing. That's such a prevalent thing. Like the people who have helped me with my IP, they're part of that. And it's such a prevalent notification. And they went crazy. They celebrated. They were so pumped about that. I mean, there are, I don't know, tens of thousands of companies, maybe hundreds of thousands of companies that get started every year.
Sure.
And to break that down into the top maybe 3-5% in the country, it's a big deal. Probably less than that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Part of the Great Resignation was during the pandemic. And during that time, there were more companies being created and started in America than any other time in previous history. So, yeah.
So if someone who's watching the show today and they're seeing your success, how important was a mentor for you? That's part one. And part two, what advice would you give someone who's watching the show today who is right there? They're about to take that leap of faith to become that entrepreneur, start their company. How important is it to start the mentor, find the mentor? And how important is it to just go for it and start the company?
Yeah, I think to find a mentor almost comes natural. If you don't have a mentor now, at some point in time, you will find one. And someone, that you either look up to or come to with questions that always feel like they've got the right advice. And those are the people in general you should be surrounding yourself with. But as far as starting the company and being able to do it is start now. Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Start now. And assess everything, right? Your risk versus reward, not only what if this doesn't go right or what if this goes bad or south, what happens if it doesn't? What happens if it goes well or goes to plan? And make your decisions based off of, okay, if I make this decision and it doesn't go well, is it going to put me out of business? It might not be a decision you might want to make, right? True. I mean, it might be not something you want to move forward with. But if it's a decision that, well, if this doesn't go right, yeah, it might pinch or sting or might scrape my knee a little bit here. But if it works, wow, this is going to be great. That sounds like a decision you're going to want to move forward with.
Oh, yeah. How many times have you scraped the knee, skinned your knee over the past whole entire career that you've had, even before you started your company?
No, for sure. Even in today's world, I mean, it's just, people say, oh, wow, business must be going great, or, oh, you're awfully lucky, or, oh, this.
Oh, I hate that word.
Me too. Me too. And it's the answer is, maybe luck could be a little bit a part of it, but
you put the work in.
The harder you work, the luckier I seem to get, right?
Yeah. Those are the people to get out of your life because they're jealous.
Sure.
Those are the people to say, oh, yeah, I'm lucky, but you don't see me working at 10 o'clock at night.
Exactly. And it's, we look back at the end of the year and we see, wow, look what we've accomplished this year. But then I really reflect and say, man, I put a lot of hours in, or wow, there were some painful days. And while you're going through it, while you're building and while you're growing throughout the year, you don't feel like you're winning. You don't feel like you're on top. Maybe 2% of the time you feel like you're winning. The rest of the time you feel like you're getting your head kicked in.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so it's very natural for people that are starting in business, that are just getting going, it's not going to feel like every day's a win, every day's a home run. There's going to be more tough days probably than good days. And all you can think about is the future and that this will work and that we're on the right path. And it's going to take a little bit of pain and sacrifice to get there. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
I think it comes down to character. If I'm hearing you correctly, your character is going to change, your ability to withstand harder times. I watched a little video on Gordon Ramsay. He had a big incident. Like he lifted up his shirt. His whole ribs were bruised.
Saw that.
You saw that?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I love it when the storm comes
Mm-hmm.
because the sooner it happens to you earlier in life, the easier things will be into the future, and it prepares you for the hard times. They're going to happen to you,
Yes.
whether you're ready or not.
Yeah. A lot of it's out of your control.
Yeah, it's out of your control. Family members are going to get sick. People pass away. Things happen, right? Divorce. There's a lot of issues in life. But the more damaged people are, the more successful they become because they get rid of excuses, right? How have you been able to overcome any excuses? Because we all have them in our heads.
Sure.
How do you get over that, and how do you succeed?
Sure.
Because I think that's part of the key.
Sure. A little bit of willpower.
Yeah.
A little bit of, I don't want to be proved wrong. I don't, there have been people that have told me, you can't do that, or you're not going to do that, or that's not going to be successful. And
How'd that make you feel?
those people still sit with me, and not in my personal life, but in the back of my mind of, it's awfully motivating.
You have some choice words for them that we're not going to say on air here. PG show. But yeah, those things motivate you, right?
Sure, it does. And, not that I would go back to say, told you so, but at the same time, you're the only one in control of what your destiny is and where you're going in life and where you're headed.
Oh, yeah. You don't let other people guide you. You don't let other people tell you what you can and cannot do. Alex Hormozi talks about the people who are below you. Those are the people who are criticizing you. And it's not like from a money standpoint. It's just people who are not willing to do the work.
Yep.
They're going to say, oh, you just got lucky, or I wish I could have had that. But then do the work.
Yeah.
Like there's people who say, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I had your metabolism, or I wish I had your dedication. You shouldn't wish that. You should just do it. Why don't you just do it? Again, going back to the people who are watching and they want to start their company, what are 3 things and what are 3 pieces of advice that they can do now from a planning perspective? Because you're a great planner, I can tell, to just get their mind clear on to do things. Because when you start your company, it's a mess from doing the S Corp or the LLC or the C Corp all the way to getting your first customer. What are 3 simple things that they could do just to expedite the process?
Sure. I mean, don't be afraid to get started is the number 1 thing. Don't be afraid to get started. And number 2 is don't be afraid to fly the plane with one wing. Just get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Figure it out as you go. There's no book. There's no recipe for business. And there's things that come up throughout the day, and there's nowhere to reach back and flip out the book and flip through and say, okay, and here on page 19 is how we handle this situation. And so it's very natural, and it's okay not to know. But certainly to get started and to be okay with flying the plane with one wing. And I think most importantly is get somebody involved from the get-go that understands finance and money and how it works its way through a company.
That's a good point, because if you can have a great reign or control over the assets and the money coming in, you have a better chance for success, because then you could delegate those monies into the right places to keep money in the organization.
Yeah, of course, especially when it's so expensive in today's market right now to borrow money.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you truly need to understand how money works its way through the company. You need to understand growth and how you're going to grow. And yeah, we're growing in sales, we're growing in profits. But that all requires additional money and additional capital. And, what's the plan? How do we work through that? And nobody wants to pay 7 to 8% interest rates to borrow money to be able to grow the company, right?
Right.
So it's about making good decisions and, having your plan and your goals of, what are things going to look like in 1 year? What are things going to look like in 3 years and 5 years?
So what are you doing right now to take advantage of your growing company, and how are you dealing with capital? Because 7, 8, 10%, depending on certain lines of credit, certain borrowing, right? How are you guys handling that?
Yeah, no, my partner does a great job of our finances and making sure we stay within our means. As the business owners, we're a W-2 employee of our own company. And we take a very moderate salary, and we know what we can pay ourselves and what it's going to take to put the rest into the company and to be able to grow without paying interest. And so I think it's making those decisions early. It's not, let's not go out and buy the sports car. Let's not go out and buy the nice wristwatch.
Yeah.
You'll get there. I promise
yeah.
you'll get there. But making those decisions early and making the right decisions.
Oh my God, I love that. My editor, Duncan, who does her show, like we talk about watches all the time. Tom at the studio here and Colt, they're big watch fans.
Yeah.
Like I did math on, like I bought a watch when I was 24. Like I hit my goal, I got it.
Sure.
If I would have just invested that money in the S&P 500, I would have had like $80,000 versus like not making money on that. It's like so silly. So you have to have parameters on your assets and like triggers to do those things, to hit certain revenue goals or certain things. And yeah, that's a very good point. Hold that thought because I want to go back to that, talk about goal setting. Stay tuned to the Retire As You Desire show. You're learning from an expert here. Thank you for being with us today. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. We're talking about how great my hair looks today and just talking about business, goal setting, just having fun in life. The one thing about business is that you have to enjoy the ride because you're going to have terrible days. You're going to have things not go your way. Business will change, all of these sort of things. So Dan, how do you set goals? I mean, you've set a goal to be on the Inc. 5000. You've hit that. What are some of your personal goals? What are some of your business goals? And how do you reward yourself? Because you have to reward yourself. I truly believe in that. It could be as simple as going on a date night with your significant other once a week. That's the goal. Or to lunch with them. Or to get the sports car or the fancy wristwatch or the fancy wristwatch at some point. But like, when do you allow yourself to pull the trigger on something like that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, some of my personal goals are just to, be a good husband and father and raise my kids the best of my ability and be there for them.
What you're doing, by the way. I mean, you're a great example of that I know.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I mean, that's just, I've come from a great family myself. And so I feel like that part almost comes more natural than the business part of it. Just because it was the way I was raised and by my father and my mother and my grandparents and even my wife's family comes from a very similar upbringing and so very family oriented and that part is extremely rewarding.
True. Very true.
Yeah. And as far as business goals, just to keep growing the company and understanding our industry and understanding our competition, learning more about our employees and what they want out of life and what they want out of their career. We've hired entry-level positions as people that need a job, and now that's turning into more of a career for them.
Wow.
And that's certainly going to be a continued goal of mine is to make sure that I keep producing for my work family.
I mean, how rewarding is it to give someone who is desperate to get a job and they turn this into a lifelong career? Like, how rewarding is that for you, Dan?
Super rewarding. A recent success story we've had is we had a gentleman working in our warehouse, and he comes from a long line of truck drivers. His father was a truck driver. His brother was a truck driver. And, he came to us and he wants to be a truck driver. Wow. And we said, Milton, that's fantastic. We're going to help you do that. And we sent him to truck driving school and helped him obtain his CDL.
Which is not easy.
No, it is not. Not easy at all. I mean, it took, 6 months of half days of school, of going to school in the morning, coming to pick up the slack in the warehouse and at work after, and long days and dedication, but he did it and we did it together. And he's been a truck driver for us now for 8 months.
Wow.
And you can see it. He feels fulfilled and he's hit a goal of his own, and his family is proud and his kids are proud and we're proud. So
yeah, being proud
very rewarding.
It's a blessing. It really is, because you're putting food and like ambition on other people's tables and their homes.
Yes.
They're teaching their kids as well. So there's a ripple effect with that. Yep. So what's the silliest thing? I call them silly things, but what's the silliest thing that you would like to buy or get once you hit certain levels or certain business? Like, I know you said don't do this until you hit this levels, but like, what's the silliest thing you've always dreamed of?
Oh my gosh. I
I'll
mean,
put you on the spot here.
yeah, no, I mean, as far as, I don't know, I've got a lot of crazy dreams out there, Bill. There's a lot of
Hey,
things in life
let's
that I
talk
want.
about
You know,
'em.
let's bring on the sports cars,
Yeah.
bring on the watches,
let's
bring on the
manifest.
vacation
Yeah.
homes. Oh yeah, I want it all.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's really staying conservative and
Yeah.
you know, understanding what debt is in front of us and what needs to be paid for first, and understanding that once those debts are paid, and once you're a little bit more free, you know,
Then you could free yourself up to do that.
very much so.
So,
And I feel like at that time it'll feel better too.
oh, totally.
Like, could you do it now? Sure, right? Like, could you go out and buy a nice watch, a nice car? Sure, but will it feel that great? Will it be hanging over your head a little bit? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The stress with it isn't
Yeah.
worth it.
Right.
That's the big thing. You have to be in a financial place where
Sure.
if you're going to feel bad about it afterwards, it's a hard no. Like I have some parameters where if you want to spend $1,000 on something, you should have 10 grand in the bank.
Yeah.
If you want to buy something that's 5,000, you should have 50,000 in the bank, like a rule
Sure.
of 10.
Sure.
You could set up simple rules
Sure.
like that. And it could be any number, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that gives you more confidence and more
Yeah.
of a satisfactory feeling, knowing that I'm not going into debt because I don't have the money to
Correct.
pay for this thing.
Yeah, I agree. And rather than going out and buying some of these things, like if I made a little bit more money this year than last year, rather than going out and buying something, I get a little bit more of a thrill of maybe increasing my investments a little bit in my portfolio, right? Adding a little bit to the stock market, adding a little bit to these mutual funds, adding a little bit more to the retirement, and giving those investments a raise, if you will.
Totally.
And to me, that feels a little bit better than going out and buying a
thing, a watch, or a
right,
car.
sure.
Well, the retirement thing and the investment thing, that should be a bill for you. It's like it should be a line item.
Yep.
The way that I talk to entrepreneurs is you need to make it like it's another employee almost. Like it's on the payroll. It's a bill. You have to pay this.
Yes.
It's an expense every month. Then you get your mindset around, I'm paying myself first because you had the money coming right off the top and then you're not blowing it.
Sure.
Which I've seen so many people do. When we change that, you're already doing it. So congratulations. But when you do that, that's when you start to see that compounding work and the tax efficiencies work. It's like, wow, why wasn't I doing this before?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever think you'll retire, stop working? You're young, right? Mid-30s. Like, do you ever think you'll?
Yeah, it's certainly a goal to retire at some point. I think, to slow down at some point would be great, right? But I'll always be involved in something. My dad is recently retired, and he's playing a lot of golf, and
Congratulations.
yeah, exactly.
Mr.
And
Hoffman.
and that sounds awfully fun, and I'll get there someday, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think slowing down at some point would be the real step one.
Yeah.
Getting to a point where I can kind of settle in and not have such busy and crazy weeks. And
Do you think you could do that now through hiring? Letting go a little bit?
yeah, and that's something that like my partner's even taught me over the last few years of like, to be able to delegate tasks and all that. And I would hate to say, I don't think I was micromanaging, but like I was afraid of like every little move and wanting to double check. Like at some point, like you have to trust the people that you've hired.
Totally.
Right. But yeah, as far as like, totally slowing down and letting go,
It's hard.
it is
It's your
very much
baby.
so.
Your company's your
Well said.
baby. It's like
Yeah,
another
absolutely.
kid.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like letting them walk. You still want to allow them to walk, but like you don't want them to bang their head and bust their head open on the
Sure.
table, right?
Yeah. They're not going to cross the street by themselves.
Right, exactly, Dan, exactly. We were at the park with our youngest son, and he started on the scooter, and he's 2. I said, watch your brother, and he watched his brother, and I was like kind of holding him like right over him. Then I let go a little bit. He was fine. He figured it out. He's going to be an athlete.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. But he's 2 and he saw his brother. He's like, okay, I can do this. It's really cool. But those things happen in business too.
Mm-hmm.
When you let go, the hardest part is letting go. But when you hit certain levels, you have to, because if you don't, then your business doesn't grow.
Sure.
And I've seen it so many times. If you're on top of every little thing, that's how you burn your employees out too.
Sure.
So the people who are running their companies and want to start their own company, have trust, have faith in people to do what they're going to do and have mechanisms to check these things. But you don't need to be breathing down their neck all the time. Let them cross the street on their own when they're ready to.
Sure.
When they're old enough. So as far as business goes, what's next for the company?
I think what's next is continue to focus on sales growth at the moment. We're in a
Yeah.
really good spot operationally, financially. We've made some great investments in the last 18 months in salespeople in general.
Is that what you're investing in right now from a company standpoint, is people?
Yeah, last year
Human
was,
equity, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Last year, our investments were operations, expanding our warehouse, adding a truck, um, square footage. So that was our investment last year. And this year it's been sales growth. So yeah, it's time to go out and sell and increase sales and revenue. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
Salespeople, are they like the lifeblood for your company?
they are, we don't really, we don't manufacture, we don't service. And so sales is the engine of our company for sure. They're the ones generating all the revenue.
So if someone's, again, going back to starting out their company, how would you recommend someone getting their first customers or their first set of clients to jumpstart their business? Because sales is everything, right?
Sure. I mean, networking.
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 Okay, I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah, I mean, networking and, understanding, who you're going to try to sell to and who those first prospective clients could be, and find out who else are doing business with these people.
And if you're going to be asking for introductions, I know a lot of people have hesitation around that. Has that been the number one thing for you to do, to just have not necessarily the audacity, but just the strength to ask?
Yeah, it's
How important is
uncomfortable.
the ask? Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It's
for
uncomfortable.
sure.
And that's one thing in business you learn very quick is a lot of things are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And get used to being uncomfortable and don't be afraid to ask. I know, Bill, if someone were to approach you and say, "Hey, Bill, how did you do it?" or "What do you do?" you'd be happy to say, I'll tell you everything I know. I'll be happy to help you. And same goes for me. And that's 99% of the entrepreneurs and business people that we come across. They love to help. That's why they're in business.
Absolutely.
They might seem stressed or busy or whatever, but if you were to go up to them, you see these people on Instagram and TikTok and what do you do for a living and all these things, right? I mean, a lot of times these people are having success because people are willing to share how they've had success and what it takes and happy to answer questions and lend a hand, right?
Absolutely.
Like I said, there's no playbook. These people didn't have a playbook. We don't have a playbook.
No, you figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the common theme is you can figure it out. We could all do it. Anyone could be an entrepreneur. You don't even need to use that title. You could be a business owner. It doesn't matter. Just follow your dreams, follow your passion like Dan has, like what we're doing at Bloom Financial. Thanks for being on the show. This has been incredible. I know you had a ton of great information, and Inc. 5000, ladies and gentlemen, how amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
So tune in every Friday night, 6 p.m. Central, for more great information just like this. Thank you for watching the Retire As You Desire show.